Hey, yo, what's up, YouTube, man? It's your boy, Ashton Jackson. And in today's video, man, I'm going to be talking about the Dallas Cowboys versus the San Francisco 49ers preview matchup ahead of Sunday's matchup. Yeah, man, really both teams are really desperate. The Dallas Cowboys are coming in off a bye week, 3-3 after suffering a horrendous loss 2 weeks ago against the Detroit Lions. And then the San Francisco 49ers had another upsetting loss against the um, Kansas City Chiefs, so I know they're trying to bounce back. I know they're 3-4 right now. They're currently how it stands on the NFC West side of things. They are on the last place of their division, and the Dallas Cowboys we are third in our division. So it's really imperative that both teams are hungry, both teams are wanting to win. So I'm talking about all that and more after the video or after the intro. So before we come to the video, I appreciate it if you guys like the video, subscribe if you're new, comment and share my video with anyone who you think will enjoy my content. So again, hopping straight into it, I know that some Dallas Cowboy fans, I'm going to be talking about the injury side of things real quick before we go into the ways in which we can beat the San Francisco 49ers. The number one thing for the Dallas Cowboys is they're going to be without DaRon Bland and Micah Parsons. I figured we weren't going to have Micah Parsons just because high ankle sprain diagnoses most likely are that at least for 4 weeks. That's at least a month of football that you're going to be missing. I understand that he did miss that second half or the majority of that New York Giant game on Thursday night. I know he did miss about a quarter and a half of that game, and then he had 10 to 11 days to rest. Then he didn't play against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and then he didn't play against the Detroit Lions. Then he still had the bye week to try and get healthy. Just isn't working out for him right now, but I'd rather it slow play him and rather us have him fully healthy versus the Falcons or fully healthy versus the next team we play, which more than likely will be the Houston Texans or the Philadelphia Eagles. But I'd rather have him healthy down the stretch of the season than try to force him in these games and him rupturing or him having something more serious than what just a high ankle sprain can be, and then it turns into being something different, and you don't want that to happen. DaRon Bland, there was whispers throughout the Cowboy media that DaRon Bland had a bit of a setback and wasn't going to be able to play football the past 2 weeks, and we heard that rumblings around that with the Detroit Lions game. That's why he wasn't able to play in that game, and then also with this game he isn't able to play. So again, that's another tricky stress fracture that he suffered in August on that last preseason game against the LA Chargers. He didn't play in that game, but it was announced a couple hours before that game that he had messed up his foot and was going to be out 6 to 8 weeks. So really, we have those two things going against us. We're not having two all pros coming back on our defensive side of the football, in which it's fine because I felt like our offense needs to win this game, and we're not going to be able to rely on our defense. I'm talking about all that and more. Jordan Phillips is going to be ruled out. The Dallas Cowboys opened up the 21-day activation for Jordan Phillips to come back and potentially join the roster. So we're going to see what happens with that. Kendricks, coming off his shoulder injury, is questionable. Same goes with Kellen Carson, and then Nick Vigil's on the injury report, questionable with the foot injury. For the San Francisco 49ers, they're going to be without Jawan Jennings, Kevin Givens, their starting kicker Jake Moody. And questionable is Deebo Samuel. Prayers up to him. He did have pneumonia and he had fluid in his lungs. Pray for Lee that he is okay. I'm 100% sure he'll be able to play, especially because they got this game, then they have a bye week. So I think that they're going to try and play everybody as much as they possibly can, and then whatever the circumstance comes out for this game, they'll at least have a bye week. So Deebo Samuel's dealing with a wrist/illness is what they're saying, but he's dealing with a more significant problem with pneumonia. He had fluid in his lungs. So again, prayers up to him. And then also the 49ers are going to be without Brandon Ayuk. Prayers up to him. That's why the players are fighting to get their money, because look, he got a torn ACL, and if he was playing on the last year of his deal of his rookie year, he would have been screwed come next time when it comes to negotiations, right? Because his numbers haven't been looking good, and then he just deal with a big time injury. So that's why these players fight for the money that they normally do in the off season. That's why most players don't touch the field until they get their money. So I'm glad, Brandon Ayuk was able to get his money. Who else is listed questionable is George Kittle with his foot, George Odom, and Diamador Lenore is questionable with the illness, which we're going to beat the San Francisco 49ers is number one for me. You have to play exactly how you did versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. And how you did that was playing gap sound on defense. You were utilizing motion early and often in the game, and you were able to do that. And throughout the duration of the game, I seen film. Shout out to Skywalker Steel, and if you guys don't watch his morning show, you guys should. Monday through Friday, showing film plenty of times. The Niners haven't changed at all from the past 2 years. They haven't changed. If you're stagnant on offense, they're going to chew you out and they're going to blitz you. Not really blitz you, but all they'll have to do really is just put 7 in coverage. They're going to get home with 4 because their offensive line has been really shaky and things of that nature. And Fred Warner has been able to pick up on this offense, and he's able to pick up on a lot of offenses. But this offense, he knows like the back of his hand because of how stagnant we are. If we don't make anything difficult on him or this secondary, they're just a vision defense where they just keep everything in front of them and they're just going to play sound football and just fly to the ball. That's what they are. That's who they are. They have a bunch of athletes. This isn't going to be a time where you think you can just line up and just be blatantly disrespectful against the 49ers. You think you're just going to line up and beat them. Some teams take that as a form of disrespect. So if we don't utilize motion, we ran the ball with a purpose against the Pittsburgh Steelers, against one of the best run defenses in the league, and we weren't, we were able to play sound football. I think that if we play exactly how we did versus the Pittsburgh Steelers, which was desperate, right? We came off a 2-game losing streak. We got our bounce back win against the Giants. Then we knew that we couldn't lose on the road against the Pittsburgh Steelers because we knew that we didn't want to have, we win against the Giants and then we lose against the Steelers, and then it would have been very tough sledding because, like I said, that was a very must-win game for us. And I think this is also this is another must-win game for the Dallas Cowboys. It also is for the San Francisco 49ers because if they lose right now, what it looks like in the NFC West, like I already said earlier in the intro, they're last right now when it comes to the NFC West standings. And if they lose, they're in a very tough stretch of their schedule because they still have to play the Green Bay Packers. They still have to play the Houston Texans, I want to say. They still have to play the Buffalo Bills. So they still have a lot of teams that they have to go out and go play. And if the Niners can't figure it out, their season is going to be over and they might not even make the playoffs. So the Niners are fighting for something. And if you're the Dallas Cowboys, not only do you have to fight to keep your season alive and just for you to be able to stay in the race of the NFC, but let alone the NFC East, if you lose this game and you're 3-4, there's very well that you can lose to the very next week and lose to the Atlanta Falcons. So I think it's going to be very tough for you. And I think if the Dallas Cowboys want to go out and they want to win, they have to play exactly like how they did versus the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I think they will be okay. And I understand that the San Francisco 49ers have had our number the past 3 matchups. We've played them twice in the playoffs, one in 2022 in the playoffs, and then we played them in 23 of the playoffs, and then we played them in 23 in the regular season, October 8th, week 5, and they blew us out horrendously. It was just nasty the way that they blew us out on that game. And just the way in which they were that year, last year, they were very dominant as we saw. But so that's number one. Number two, we have to stop the run. It's easier to say, but Dallas hasn't been able to stop a good run scheme this season at all. Every single time we played a good running back or we played a great run scheme, whether that was the New Orleans Saints or that was the Detroit Lions or that was the Baltimore Ravens, everyone ran on us for about 200 plus yards. So it's easier for me to say, hey, stop the run, but I've been saying that for every single one of those games. Every single week I've said, look, stop the run, stop the run, stop the run. And only in 3 of those weeks was that true, but the other 3 weeks have been terrible and you allowed up at least 200 plus yards rushing offensively, or my bad, defensively you've been allowing opponents to run at least 200 plus yards on you, and you're easily one of the worst run defenses ever in NFL history in the past 20 years. But not only that, just easily in the league, you're one of the worst run defenses in the league. So it's easier said than done. But like I said, if we play gap sound football and we're not in a hurry to rush upfield because we don't have much pass rush anyway to get upfield to go get Purdy. But if we play gap sound football and we play physical football against the San Francisco 49ers, I think we will be okay. We have to tackle, man. Jordan Mason leads the NFL in forced missed tackles with 53. Debo and Kittle will play, so those are also the yak guys where they'll put him in mismatches between Malik Hooker. And also another thing that I like to note is that the Dallas Cowboys, they defensively have they play with one of the most stacked boxes in the league when it comes to obvious rundowns, and I think the 49ers will utilize that against our advantage. to their advantage, but to our disadvantage because I feel like once we stack those boxes, who's going to come down and try to help us in run defense, and that will be Donovan Wilson, who isn't that great in pass coverage, which has been seen in your three losses. That every single time that a team wants to go deep, it's right down the middle of the field, and Malik Hooker and Donovan Wilson cannot track the ball, and they're not playmakers when the ball is in the air. And it's time for them to play in range. They're not that great of a team, not that great players when it's time for them to play range. Which just is crazy to say, knowing that just 2 years ago you felt really confident, or just even a year ago you felt really confident about the safety room. Now they just really let you down. But like I said, with us having stacked boxes against the run, I think the 49ers will use that to their advantage and utilize play action and things of that nature. But when they do hand the ball off to Jordan Mason, this is a game where I feel like the Niners don't have to throw the ball that much, and I think they'll have defined success. I think they will be a successful football team, or they will have success in this game if they can run the ball and they play good defense. I think that they can win this game. But it's up to Dallas Cowboys on how they want to play this game, how physical they want to be, and how these coaches want to call this game. Like I said, this is a must-win for the Dallas Cowboys because I believe that this is your best chance to beat the 49ers. Due to them having all of their injuries, this is the best time for the Dallas Cowboys to beat them, and also it will boost team morale. I feel like if you can beat this team and you stay level-headed throughout the week and you don't read your press clippings and you don't read into your own hype, I feel like you can go in the next week and possibly get another win if you're able to have Micah Parsons and DaRon Bland back in those matchups, right? So with this being a must-win for the Dallas Cowboys, they have to play like it. And I understand that we are undefeated on the road. We're all 3-0, but I understand that does come against Deshaun Watson. That does come against Daniel Jones. That does come against a guy like Justin Fields, who got benched for a guy like Russell Wilson, who had a very tremendous game last week on Sunday night. So Dallas Cowboys have to win this game. And like I said, back to my leading point, if they play exactly like how they did versus the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think we will be fine minus the turnovers. If offensively you don't turn the ball over as much, I think you will be fine. Another point I have to make is offensively. If you're stagnant, and I mentioned that earlier in the first part, in my first point of the talking of the way in which we can beat the 49ers. If you don't utilize motion with a guy like Kevontae Turpin, you remember your big touchdown that you had when you were down 14-0 against the 49ers, and you had that bunch play where it didn't start out as a bunch, but you had Kevontae Turpin on one side of the field, which was the left side of the field, and you motioned to the right. You had him run that post corner, and he was wide open for the end zone. You have to utilize things like that. You have to utilize Kevontae Turpin. They have a tough time defending speed, and we see that on film when you watch Skywalker Steel when the Rams were utilizing Tutu Atwell and put him on one side of the formation and motion him over to the bunch side, and he would run dig, or he would run a curl, deeper curl than what we normally run to the sticks. When they ran like a 15, 17-yard curl while motioning Tutu Atwell was wide open on dig concepts, on dagger concepts. He was open on those plays. So I think if we can utilize Kevontae Turpin on those whip routes, if we get him on rub routes, because they like to run a lot of man coverage, I think that if we can get a Kevontae Turpin in wide open space and he doesn't have to beat anybody or utilize any of his route running separation, because we know that we're not a great route running team. If we're able to get Kevontae Turpin in wide open space and we throw the ball to him, that's like punt return for him. You get him the ball in space, he can go up and get you an easy 5 to 10 yards, and if not, take it to the house. If everything is blocked well, everything is schemed well, I think he can score on a lot of plays. But I feel like if you're not creative, if you're stagnant, if you don't play gap sound football, this team will blow you out quickly. And the only way you're going to be able to beat this team is with creativity. So how creative can Mike Zimmer be and give the looks to Brock Purdy, right? How creative can Mike McCarthy be offensively and utilize motion down in and down out for run situations, for pass situations, things of that nature, right? Also, you got to create some turnovers. You have to win the turnover differential in this game. For you to beat the 49ers, you have to create some turnovers. And I'm not saying, you're going to go back to your old ways like how you were with Dan Quinn and just get a bunch of sacks and pick sixes and things of that nature. I feel like if you're able to have but if you're able to have Brock Purdy to make throws consistently down in and down out, and for him to hold the ball a little bit longer, I think you can win on some downs. Now, Brock Purdy has been really good holding on to the ball this year and extending plays and things of that nature. But we're going to see with the Dallas Cowboys and how they're going to play defensively. In the secondary, I know that we don't do well versus intermediate routes or crosser routes. We're one of the worst teams when it comes to defending that, and that's what the Niners, or that's their bread and butter, is getting, guys in open space, getting their guys the ball quickly and early across the middle for them to make big plays. And I think if we're able to play some cover man, some robber type look where we're playing man, or it seems like we have a safety come down delayed in the middle of the field to play on those crossing routes, I think we'll be fine. But it's really, again, can this team defend it? How disciplined can this football team be? Also, don't turn the ball over. If you turn the ball over and you give the Niners short fields, I talk about that weekly. That if you give these good teams short fields to score touchdowns, they will. And I think another thing that the Dallas Cowboys have to do is punch the ball offensively in the red zone. I think if you're able to do that, you will make life tougher on the 49ers, in my opinion. And then last but not least, limit the penalties. I think if you limit the penalties and, like I say, you play gap sound football, I think you will be able to beat this football team. So that's about it for the video. Hope you guys have a nice day. Stay safe, stay blessed. Bye.